join us remotely later.
Okay. It's on and
Yeah.
Okay, well, hello, welcome to the Town of Niskayuna Conservation Advisory Council, October 4th, 2023 meeting. We have it both in hybrid and present. So why don't we, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Do you want to take attendance,
Yeah.
Laura, please?
So I have the wrong screen up, but Vicky, Michaela, and Georgia Bonton are present remotely. And in the room tonight, we have Ellen Daviera, who's the acting chairperson, and Richard Frontero. Clark is also joining us remotely.
Okay, and I just wanted to take a second and welcome Richard to, he's our new member. So we're a little thinned up here, but welcome, and we're looking forward to having you on our committee and working with you.
Hi, everyone.
So,
Hi, welcome.
So the approval of the minutes for September will be presented at the November 8th meeting. So we're just going to move along here, and we have Charles Dumas, the GE attorney, to speak to us for privilege of the floor. Would that be okay if I call him up now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, please come.
Hi, Jack. Come on up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask you just to wait 1 second while Chuck sits down and he gets situated so that we don't have any interruptions, and I appreciate your patience. And I just wanted to tell everyone that this is Chuck Pietrowski. Is that how you say it? Sorry. And he is a new member as well. And he is over from, when we joined with Climate Smart. So he is somebody that is joining us. So we're very glad to have him as well. So I think what we'll do is we'll get back to Charles Dumas, who is the attorney for General Electric, and he came to present to us. So it's all yours.
Thank you. Do I need to press anything? Can you hear?
Yeah, he turned it on for you.
Okay, great. Yes, Charles Dumas, I'm an attorney. I'm with the law firm of Lemery Chrysler. We have offices in Albany and in Saratoga. GE has asked us to assist them with the division of their property on River Road. And that's necessitated by, and you have probably read about it in the news, GE is reconfiguring the company into 3 different silos. One is healthcare, another is aerospace, and another is Vernova. And Vernova will be their energy and big wind division. As a consequence of that, it's necessary to separate the property on River Road, one research circle. That's about a 535 acre site in total. And the idea here and what we've proposed in our sketch plan is to deed 190 acres to Vernova, marked by all of the land west of the bike path that runs through the property. That section of the property has frontage both on River Road and an entry on Balltown Road. I wish I had my pointer with me. And it's improved by 2 structures. One is the Learning Center, and the other is an office building adjacent to it. And it's a relatively, I think, simple 2-lot subdivision. There are a couple of easements running through it. Those are noted. There's a sewer easement that runs from the Balltown Road area over towards the river. There will be, and what isn't reflected here, is there will be an easement between the retained lands of aerospace to the east to allow access from the complex of properties to the Learning Center. And there will also be an internal road constructed akin to what the roads are like in the complex now, to allow for access from the River Road entry up to the Learning Center. That isn't yet shown on the sketch plan. The bike path will remain on GE property to the east and be unaffected by the subdivision.
Okay. Would you like us to ask questions as you go along, or?
You can ask questions anytime you like.
Okay, so I guess my first question just is the access on Balltown Road. So this is for Vernova. So what are the number of cars or people that are currently employed there and use that access?
I don't have that the exact information, but I don't believe it's substantial because this is a property that isn't occupied all the time.
Okay,
There's, a small amount of daily usage, but on certain occasions, there's larger numbers of people.
okay, and then,
The traffic pattern isn't expected to change at all.
oh, the number of people that are working there is
Well,
not going to increase,
We'll continue to
be sparse.
to be the same.
Okay. Okay,
There's no contemplated changes in usage of the property at all, except that the 190 acres to the west of the bike path will be owned by Vernova. And
which is a subdivision of GE?
which is one of the siloed businesses I referred to earlier. That's the energy division.
Okay, and then the, so the number of people that are currently working there will continue to be the same number of people that are currently working there?
The usage of the campus is not intended to change at all
Okay,
at this
and-
point.
And then the buildings are basically just going to stay the same? There's not going to
Exactly.
be any adds on? The only thing you're looking to do is to add a connector road within?
That's correct. An internal road from the retained lands of GE to the east to allow access directly in that way up to the Learning Center.
Okay, so there's some wetlands in there. So I guess that road really makes a difference.
It does, and we've dealt with that issue of the wetlands. It will not be impacted by the internal road, and we'll meet all applicable DEC regulations in that regard.
Okay. Okay.
We're well aware of the number
Yeah,
of
I'm sure.
wetlands because there are a few.
Yeah, yeah.
They're being flagged and plotted right now.
Okay. And I guess, because, and then what about, are we also, and this is the Conservation Advisory Council, so,
Right.
we obviously want to take into consideration wetlands and then, number of trees that you're taking down, that sort of thing.
There's no intention of taking any trees down. There may be some service disturbance in the construction of the road, but there's no deforestation plans or development plans presently.
Okay. We'll look, okay.
Just to add on to the wetlands, Niskayuna actually has a 25-foot buffer beyond the wetlands. So while they're flagging them, it might be useful for your designer to take into account that 25-foot buffer. It's specific to Niskayuna. Not a lot of towns have that.
Thank you, Laura. That's terrific. Yeah.
Hi, Chuck. My name is Georgia.
Hi, Georgia.
I just have a quick question. Can you tell us the expected width of the internal road?
Similar to what exists there now, my guess is probably not more than 15 feet wide.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I have a question.
Sure.
If GE is splitting this property into three different property holders, Vernova, Aviation, and Healthcare, will this council have to, in the future, be working with those parts of GE directly on this property, or will the GE corporate still be the legal holder?
Yeah, so Vernova will be the fee owner, the title owner to the 190 acres west of the bike path. And GE, the General Electric Company,
Right.
will be the fee owner of the remaining 300 some odd acres.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And to be clear, there's no portion of the property that's being intended to be subdivided for healthcare.
Okay, great.
The spin of the healthcare division has already occurred. They have a small presence on campus in separate buildings.
Okay.
And that's an internal arrangement, contractual arrangement between the healthcare, GE Healthcare, and the General Electric Company.
Thank you.
So there won't be a subdivision associated with that.
Our chairperson, Dart Strayer, was unable to come to the meeting tonight, but he did send a question or a comment to me
Good.
about the GE. And what he just wanted to convey to GE was that maybe similar to what Chuck was just asking, but he wanted to understand what was the comprehensive plan for GE high level for how this property was going to work. I know in the agenda statement I put for you guys for this project that timing wise, we do need to take action on an environmental impact form at the next meeting. So I think what Dart was just interested in was just the comprehensive type of what's happening with the property.
Yeah, and that's a fair question. And thank you for pointing out taking action at the next meeting. The anticipated spin off of Vernova, is intended to occur in December at the end of the fourth quarter. So it would be important for us to be able to have that subdivision drawn and in place by then. In terms of the overall site, there should be no operational change. Right now, I think a lot of businesses, including GE, are having workers return from remote work that was popular and necessary during the COVID times. So I think you'll see more workers returning to the property, working a little less remotely. But there's no material changes expected in the remainder of the site at all. The fee owner of the remaining part of the campus will be the General Electric Company.
Okay, so the physical things that are happening to the plant, to the site is the road.
Yeah, I would
So
say the only real alteration would be a road coming along and allowing access from the River Road area to the Learning Center and the office building in the back, an internal road, so that you don't have to go around.
Yes,
And-
I understand that. I just guess if we're going to take action on this next month, then we need that information so that we can figure out, what that access road looks like, what,
Yep.
and what basically, how it impacts, the environment around it. So that's very important.
Yep, you'll have that.
And
If I may, can I piggyback onto the overall general approach project question and ask, are there any plans, Chuck, to do anything to the area of the Mohawk River at the north of Balltown Road, 146?
No, there's no plans to do anything with that.
And the frontage, the property continues, okay. No ponds.
Yeah, that area that lies on the bank of the river will remain GE property. The subdivision line will go along the western side of the bike path, which is several hundred feet away from the bank of the river. That area tapers off, the topography tapers off quite a lot going down to the bank. And there's a fair amount of wetlands in that area. There's no disturbance anticipated for that, and it will remain entitled to the GE company.
So the second part of my question then is, would GE be willing to, as part of the subdivision and part of, I don't know if this is an acquisition or if this is a spinoff with a joint venture or if it's a straight sale, I suppose we can look at the document somewhere. But would you be willing to take measures to perhaps shore up the bank of the area and to bank of the Mohawk River and to promote the establishment of a further wildlife corridor along that area? That's something that Laura can speak more directly to, but along River Road, there are several parks, and Niskayuna just took ownership of another park, and the majority of our wildlife actually traverses behind our houses and into the parks. So if you would be willing to donate some amount of, allocate a certain amount of money to the shoring up of that bank and other things that might support the variety of wildlife in the area, I think that would really go a long way towards making sure that the entire project is not only not disturbing conservation, but promoting conservation in the area. And Laura can, as well as to the species that are in the area. Is that something that would be attractive to GE,
Well,
your client?
yeah, it may be, but it's not part of what we're seeking to accomplish at this point. And we're hoping to have a fairly clean pathway to the subdivision approval. That may be a worthy discussion at some point in the future, but I didn't want to hang an ornament on the tree such that it would make the bough bend or break at this point.
Oh, understood. That's a wonderful analogy, especially as we head into the Christmas season, or be it a Christmas ornament or a birdhouse that you're hanging on the tree, absolutely. And not looking to expand any type of budget. I understand that since you are not disturbing anything in the area, you won't have silt fences up and the like, but I'd like to take a look at the corridors that are there now and to get a look at the inventory and just assure that the corridor that's already being used by the wildlife along the Mohawk remains viable.
There's a fair amount of wildlife that I've seen through there, and it's a beautiful area. And I think it's certainly a worthy discussion as to the future of that property, but we're hoping to not have that as an impediment in our pathway at this point.
I wouldn't it as one, and I understand you have a November deadline. I'm certainly not here to make things difficult for your client or for you, Chuck.
Thank you, Georgia.
But you're welcome. But we just want to make sure that we're looking out for all of the denizens and citizens of Niskayuna.
Understood. And I think that's a worthy goal.
So I actually had discussed a similar point with Charles. I know the CAC has looked at that top part of GE's property before, and he mentioned the same thing to me. But I mean, maybe a good compromise, because really there's no changes to the land except for the road, which they will work on, is maybe, Charles, you could reach out and just find a good contact that, we could sit down with, at some point, December, January, or whatever, and just kind of talk about some of the wildlife and the conservation goals that we think that we could both achieve, probably working together. But still separated out from the approval.
Sure, yeah.
And I know it was, so this doesn't, pertain to this, but, where are we with the structures that were going to be built on is that still being done or what's?
So I
that-
actually asked Charles the same question as well. Were you able to find out if they were going to build the building that got the variance?
There is, to my knowledge, no plan to do that anytime soon. And I understand that approval has a shelf life.
Yeah, I thought so.
I believe a 2-year shelf life.
It does.
I'll certainly inquire, about the structure.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I haven't, seen anything and we had, discussion about trees and stuff like that. So I just was curious if that was.
Could you provide us with a copy of the variance that you have obtained? I would just like to see it.
I can email it to you, Georgia.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks, Laura.
It was like a year ago, right?
I think it might even be longer than that. If it hasn't expired, it's very close. But there was a lot of discussion when the new
Okay.
building was going in of screening, like visually screening it from GE, because it was going to be much closer than most of the GE buildings to the residences.
Mhm.
That's probably your memory, Alan,
Yeah.
is that we came up with a fairly robust planting plan, which GE has not executed because they haven't built the building.
Yeah, and as far as I know, there's no present plans. I've met with the site people
Okay.
over there, and they're really, really focused on the spin of Vernova from aerospace, or what will be aerospace, and the necessary improvements in the campus overall that will be required by that. So there's been no discussion in any of the meetings that I've had about that, but I'll get further clarity.
Okay. I was just curious because
It was a height variance, and I think Clark and I had said to you, it was a building that they were going to sink a big piece of equipment into the ground for, and it got
Yeah.
a height variance because they couldn't sink it any farther into the ground.
Right, right.
Yeah.
okay. Does anybody have any more questions? Sure.
Yes, I have one question. Does the variance identify what the piece of equipment is that's being sunk into the ground?
No, it's not that specific, but I think I'll email it to you, Georgia. The approval of that building may have even expired, and what they're saying is they're not planning to build that building, even if the approval hasn't expired. Like GE will double check, but it's unlikely that we'll see the whatever need they had for that building may have dissolved with the changes that happened to the GE company. So I'm hearing that it's unlikely that we'll see the building. It was tall. It was something like 45 feet, and it was pretty close to River Road. But obviously, you don't need the screening if the building's not built. So
Absolutely, or to know what's going to be sunk into the ground. So I apologize for any delay that I've caused. Thanks.
it's good to know because you weren't on the board when GE came. So it's good for you guys to have all the history. It's never a bad question.
Thanks, Laura.
Do you have a question, Chuck?
Yeah. Just for clarity purposes, this road that is proposed, will this road cross or interact with the bike path in any way, shape, or form?
It will necessarily need to cross in, I believe, one spot.
Okay, and what is the mitigation plan? Or will there be fence work around that? What does that crossing look
Well,
like at this point?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I propose a similar treatment to what occurs in other places in the town where you have the bike path or multi-use path crossing a public thoroughfare. There's lights, I believe, that activate, also crossing markings and so forth. There's, I think, 2 locations right on River Road where the path crosses, and I believe that's pretty functional. I think that works pretty well.
Okay, so the road will cross the bike path.
I believe in at least one place, Chuck,
Yeah.
possibly 2, but I believe 1.
Okay, right. To go from the education center to GE Research, that route, you'd have to cross it somewhere. Okay, so that's good to know. Related to that, then, I guess we'll just have to wait and see kind of what GE plans to do around the crossing there, noting that they do, have fences and gates and whatnot. So I'm sure that will have to come into play at some point. But we just want to make sure that while we want to have the minimal impact on nature, we also would prefer to have the minimal impact on the bike path. But we also recognize that GE has been very helpful in keeping that bike path up and running for us on that land. So,
And I believe the easement document actually has built into it a fair amount of flexibility in terms of how we can deal with that. And the idea is to not impair the bike path and its usage, and to keep it safe.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking aloud because I think it's really important to know that GE is building the road between the two facilities, but I'm not sure that you're going to be able to fully design that road and understand exactly where it's going to go. So a lot of times we can issue a subdivision with approval with conditions, and I think as much information as we can have on the road would be good, but we may even do something where when the road gets more well-designed, we could take a look at the road just on its own or something. Like knowing that it's coming is good, but and we may not be able to understand the full impact of the road, which right now isn't shown on the subdivision, but it could be something that we condition like further information on too.
That's a really good idea. I think that's a wonderful suggestion. So that, and I agree with you, Laura.
Yeah, I think at the crossings, I would prefer no lights. No, I mean, that's in a nice wooded area that, like blinking lights.
No blinking lights.
I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what they come up with, but
Hey,
not.
I'm a lawyer. I'm not an engineer or
Yeah.
a designer.
Well, we're fighting a lot of ambulance light, in our town. So,
Oh, yeah.
So, just blinking at night would be a disturbance to animals if it doesn't have a purpose. So
I think it can be,
true.
properly engineered and clearly marked such that it would be safe,
I would leave it to GE to be able to engineer something like that.
you would think.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to design a safe crossing there.
Okay.
Um,
So I think that I have had all my questions answered that I can think of. So are Vicky and Georgia okay as well? Do they have any last things they'd like to ask Chuck?
I don't have any questions.
Sorry.
The only thing that occurred to me is that, with the bike path, sometimes in certain sections, there is storm water runoff that can create problems. So that would be something that I would be a little bit concerned about. But again, not knowing the details of where this road is going and the topography, I can't really, say that I have a concern. That's just something that I would want to know more about.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And I echo what Vicky and Laura have both said before. Chuck, I don't have any additional questions now, but I do have a concern as to where the road will eventually end up laying and going. Sometimes you can't predict these things, and it is 15 feet wide. And, that can be an issue for the wildlife corridor that's already there and the pattern of migration or hunting that's already developed. And then as Vicky and Laura, both said, I think it should perhaps be conditional until we have a better idea of where, as Laura said, a better idea as to where that road is going to be. So.
And just one further point, if it's possible to get a traffic, the anticipated amount of traffic, I can't imagine it'd be too much going back and forth between the two facilities. But it would be really helpful if we had a sense of kind of what that, the frequency of vehicles and, obviously there's going to be internal combustion engines going back and forth. But if it's 10 cars a day, 20 cars a day, a sense of what that traffic would be like, I think would help us as well.
Trucks.
Yeah, well, right, it would be
Trucks versus
the weight. Well, yeah, it's just whether they're trucks, cars. I mean, it'd be a good sense of what that traffic, not only the pattern, but you're right, kind of the profile of the vehicles going back and forth.
Yeah, just to help understand the impact to the users of the bike path.
Right. A lot of people bike and walk and jog along there.
And
That's the section in the wintertime that doesn't get plowed.
It does not get plowed in
So
the
that's
winter.
where they like cross-country ski and stuff like that. And okay.
Sometimes.
I ice walk back there, so good my thing. So okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr.
I don't see my red light on.
So that wasn't really privilege of the floor. That was essentially the discussion item.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to interrupt, but it's okay.
Okay. All right. So I think that thank you very much, Mr. Dumas. We
Well, thank you for
appreciate
having me.
it. We appreciate
Look
it.
forward to seeing you again on the 8th.
Excellent.
Take care. Good night.
Bye bye. Right.
Hi, Shel.
Well, we're in between, so why don't you come on up?
Do you want to grab an agenda if you want one? Do you need a pen?
Okay, so so maybe we could go back to the environmental, assessment form referrals. Would that be okay, Laura? Do you want to go back to that?
Yeah.
And we'll do. There's nobody online, obviously, for privilege of the floor. I'm assuming. So let's start with. You want to start with 2890 River Road and the four lot subdivision.
Yeah. I'll bring it up on my computer. We have a couple new members tonight who haven't seen it yet, so I think I'll just go over it quickly, and then either myself or Clark, who's been working very closely on it, can just give you some updates.
And can we just take a second? So these are our two new members. That's Richard, and that is Chuck. Okay, Chuck is from Climate Smart when we merged, and Richard is a new member.
I'm sorry I'm late. The other meeting ended early and I just thought I would.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we're glad you can make it.
Yeah.
So, just for the record, we did not have anybody in attendance in the room for privilege of the floor, and I did not receive any comments or emails. So,
Okay.
we really didn't hold privilege of the floor, but it wasn't necessary.
Sorry.
That's okay. For the River Road, just to orient you, this doesn't have a very wide map, but essentially over here is River Road Park. So if you guys are used to driving down River Road, and then you're used to, if you're going southbound, the River Road Park is on your right with the softball fields. Then there's two houses that are kind of tucked into the forest, and then there's Seneca Road. Seneca Road has the Seneca Manor sign out front, and there's kind of a wooded parcel in between River Road Park and Seneca Road. It has a lot of wetlands. You may have noticed them from River Road. The wetlands are delineated in this map. Let me just zoom in a little. Whoops, I'm in the wrong spot here. In this map, this is the existing conditions, and you can see the gray area in here. This is the delineated wetlands. They're quite large. And so the proposal that's before the Conservation Advisory Council and the Planning Board is currently there's a single family home on this parcel. It is in very poor shape. The Historic Committee has done a preliminary look at the house. It may have been owned by a Van Vranken, but was never lived in a Van Vranken. So it doesn't really qualify as a historical home. It is proposed to be taken down in this proposal. The lands are Van Vranken related, but nothing particularly historical about the home, according to Dennis. He did a lot of research on it. And so anyway, the single family home would be taken down, and they're proposing 4 lots right now. it's still very preliminary. There's a lot of drainage work that needs to happen with the subdivision. But the 4 lots, one house would come off of Seneca Road. Like if you want to drive down and take a look at it, the house that's proposed off of Seneca Road is very close to the end of the cul-de-sac. Like you can just barely see it on the map, but that's where the cul-de-sac starts. So if you're driving down Seneca Road, you just basically drive all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And that's where that single family home would be proposed. And then if you're looking at these 3 single family homes, they're directly off of River Road. And if you're driving down River Road, go back to the existing, those 3 homes. So basically sort of picture a new home where the house is that's going to be proposed to come down, and then a home on either side. So that can kind of orient you if you're driving and you want to go take a look at the site. Some things of note that aren't in the packet this time because they were in the packet last month, but you guys can feel free to go look at it, is that this area is a known drainage area, known drainage issue area. Clark put together a really great PowerPoint, which is in the last month's slide, that shows how water, this is essentially kind of the bottom of a drainage, of a drainage basin, and just showing how the water is coming to this parcel. So a lot of times we have downstream drainage issues. In this subdivision case, it's upstream drainage issues. So there's just a ton of water that's coming to this parcel. And one of the things that the planning board and the planning department has identified as a very important point to deciding whether or not you could truly subdivide this parcel into 4 lots, like reasonably without environmental impacts or huge drainage issues, is how much water is coming to that parcel and can it handle it? And so that's something that we're looking at now. And Clark, did you want to add some updates? We're doing some site meetings and things.
Oh, that's okay. You can just keep rolling if you want to. Or
Okay.
So
He's being modest. He's doing all of the work on this.
Yeah. So I remember this, we discussed this last month, and I guess the first thing that, when we're discussing the amount of water that is coming to this site, I want to make sure that we're planning for the future, not planning for what we used to have, because I feel like our water and the amount of water we get and in the time frame that we get it is increasing. So, shorter periods of heavier rain cause faster flooding, and especially in areas like this.
Yeah.
So,
And we had a very similar discussion to that for Polson-Alley. I don't think we had it as robust at the CAC possibly as we had it at the planning board, but there were concerned neighbors for the Polson-Alley subdivision that just
Yes.
recently went through, and they were concerned about what data was being used in the stormwater calculations, because most of the data that we use when we are doing these stormwater calculations is historical data. That's just the nature of it. And we do know that when every degree that the climate warms, it can hold more water in the atmosphere, which just scientifically proven means you've got more water in the air and it can come out faster. And and more of it. So we were using NOAA's extreme climate data, and like I think where we normally would say, okay, like design this stormwater to handle 4 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. We were looking at like 7 inches of rain. We were just trying to bump it out. The problem is still even the 24-hour period, because it's not coming in a 24-hour period. You're getting 4 inches of rain in 2 hours, but we're still trying to do that.
I mean, last month when we had the, when Clark put that together, I mean, the pictures of those people's homes and the amount of water that was behind them is significant. It wasn't like, wasn't like, oh, just a little bit of water. Like
Yeah.
that I get in my backyard. It was, so maybe what we could do is for our 2 new members, we can forward them, that.
I'll forward on Clark's PowerPoint.
Yeah. So it was excellent, Clark, as always.
Clark is
Can you-
he's really good at stormwater.
Can you include me on Clark's PowerPoint also, Laura?
Sure. Yep.
I missed last month. So since I'm on the mic, just a quick question. Will this be draining into the Mohawk at some point or utilizing any of the old aqueduct system that was there?
It does drain to the Mohawk. It crosses River Road right there. And then I think it's mostly open channel over to the Mohawk, I believe, because there's no more roads at that point.
And the Mohawk still flows, does it flow, I know it's so, Hudson flows north. Is the Mohawk flowing north as well at this point?
The Mohawk is flowing south at that point.
South, okay.
It's sort of like a southeast.
Okay, because otherwise that would take us back to 146 north of Bolston Road on Balltown Road on the Mohawk again. But
They might
yeah, all sorts of concerns with erosion there. So, and what's, already in that riverbed. Sorry.
Nope, those are really good questions. So I'm just going to bring up a different screen for you guys. Hold on. Should be able to select this. Here we go. Maybe. Okay, so can you guys see that blue parcel?
Yes.
That's the parcel they're proposing to subdivide. Here's River Road Park. The water does cross here, and then I think it goes kind of through the forest down to basically Lock 7. That's how the downstream drainage is working. The upstream, I'll forward you the PowerPoint from Clark. The catchment area is basically like, the Iroquois Middle School, Rosendale Elementary School, the Bard's Farm, Campo Court, maybe a little bit of Fernwood, that one, and
I think Fernwood's up one more.
oh, is it maybe
Yeah.
Godfrey? Sorry for people who live in Rosendale Estates. And then it's all heading this way. So all of this here is heading to the little blue parcel, and then it goes from there. I think pretty much this is the New York State Park, which we were discussing on a later item, but we know that that's going to stay forest forever. So as soon as it crossed that road, it's pretty much just going through a natural forest at that point.
Okay.
I had a quick question, please. And, I see, wildlife corridors as one of the future discussion items. So with the current proposal, do we have an estimate of the amount of forest that would be cleared by this proposal?
No, but I think that'd be a good question. I believe they have limits of clearing on their map.
It's kind of hard to read.
They might not. Yeah, so we should ask for limits of clearing and amount of disturbance.
And, obviously, we want that disturbance to be as small as possible.
Yep, it's a really good point. Yeah, so just a couple updates from the last meeting is that they have been given a drainage study from the schools project at the Iroquois Middle School that they're currently reviewing, and we are having a site walk with them tomorrow at noon, which will also have the highway superintendent and the engineering, our town engineer there to take a look at some of the issues that are currently existing. And so more to come on that.
Any specifications of the houses that they're planning to build there? I mean, on that point 4?
So one of the things that Clark and I have identified, and possibly we have an updated plan from this one actually, which may not have been put in, but is that we want to see if we can the actual footprints of the homes, because these little boxes tend to be smaller than the homes that are built, and the little driveways tend to be smaller than the driveways that are built. So we want a better sense of how big the houses are going to be and what the impervious surface is going to be on the driveway. I actually think they update it though. I think this may be an older plan.
Okay.
between the drainage for the wetlands and the width of the road, the impact could be, a little substantial on the corridor that's there now. But I think that really depends upon the inventory for the area, of, what animals are there. And I think once we look at the inventory, from my perspective, for the corridor, we'd have a better sense of what area needs to be conserved to maintain the passage behind the new homes, behind the old homes, around the very wet areas, or areas that will become, wider creeks and streams. As we move through this season, where we're getting 8 inches of rain in the morning. Wasn't that Rochester, or was that like Syracuse?
I think it was down in New York City, wasn't it?
Oh, both in New York as well, both south and northwest.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. You'll find that most of the area that's left undisturbed in the town of Niskuna is wetlands and things that can't be disturbed, and we're not saving a lot of uplands. And wetlands can be really hard for, some animals to traverse.
Yes, yes. So, Ashok, you have the inventory for the animals in the area, right? Or do you not? Or that
No, I
Okay.
do not, although it is, definitely on my wish list.
He's working on it.
Yeah.
It's a slow and steady process.
right, and my inventory only goes over to Rosa Road, which we could look at later.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments about this, the River Road 4 lot subdivision?
Just a quick comment. In the past, we have asked, landowners, property owners to consider set aside a part of their land deed restricted as permanently wild, and sometimes we've had success with it. So at this early in the process, I just want to throw it out there as a consideration.
So Patrick McPartlin is the planning board project lead, and he has identified potentially this area here for conservation, which is upland. I mean, the wetland we know isn't going to be disturbed, except actually these two pieces here that are in red, they're proposing to disturb those. But right here might be a really good candidate for conservation.
That sounds good. And then you're not approaching individual homeowners and asking them to set aside an area as a permanent no-mow or something even more. I don't, as a owner myself, I think I would get a little upset. I said, no, that's where I was going to put my hydrangea,
Yeah.
So, or my, whatever. My swings could work with where the drainage is already going and the placement of the houses and the disturbance. It seems that there might already be an active corridor. I can just drive over and take a look.
Okay. All right.
Before the next meeting.
All right, so can we move on to the next item on the list? So we have, for discussion items, we have Lock 7 Road, the Mohawk River State Park, ownership change to the town of Niskuna.
Have you already done the GE thing?
Yes, we did it first.
Yeah, if you had what we did with GE is the attorney for GE presented, and we actually did talk to him about that land that we like for conservation, but they're really time constrained on this subdivision. So we're trying to maybe just open up a good channel to talk about that portion of the land. But if you had specific comments, Ashok, if you read the packet, feel free to send them to me. I'm going to write them all up. We'll put them in the planning board packet and we can send them to the applicant.
Okay, so send I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and true for anybody. If you think of a question afterward and you're like, "Ah, shoot," just send it to me. It's fine. We'll add it.
Okay.
So for the Lock 7 Road, I don't know if you guys have read in the paper or not, but the town of Niskuna has been trying to take over ownership of Lock 7. It would allow us more flexibility to do improvements. Right now, for instance, there's no bathrooms, or if there are, they may just be porta johns. And the trails.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, they might sometimes have them, but it may just be they come for workers. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
random thing. And so it's a pretty popular park. It's pretty beautiful, and the town would like to take over the land and work on improving it and rehabbing the trails and things like that. So, it requires an act within New York State because this is New York State land and it's owned by the people of New York State. And so for it to come to the town of Niskuna, it then becomes owned by just the town of Niskuna. So the state has to take action on it. And as part of their action, it has to have a secret review. So the planning board is not involved in this in any way. This is a direct recommendation to the town board on the action of taking the park over. I did ask because I know that it's very important to us. One of the things that we would not want to see is, if the town took over this land, that they would be able to sell it and subdivide it. And a condition that comes from the state, if they were to vote to allow the land to come to the town of Niskuna, is that it's deed restricted parkland forever wild. So the ownership won't change the fact that this has to be a natural area. And that was my biggest question, and I made sure that was true before I came here.
So can I just ask a question? The parking lot and in those 2 parking spaces, are they maintained by the town currently? Anyways, those where people plowing and
So the town does have a maintenance agreement with the state to go in there and do work on the park, and they have. The town has in the past been unclear on who the ownership was for the parking and the road. It was in very terrible shape not very long ago. It was pretty tough to drive down. I believe the town finally just said, because our residents use this so much and it's an important part of recreation in the town of Niskuna, that they used their own money to fix that road. The state used some of its own money to fix the parking as part of the upgrades to the lock. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge.
okay,
And I
that's
do
fair. I just was looking for.
I do want to get a little clarification from them too, because they obviously can't be giving us the lock, right? I mean, that's not being transferred over to the town of Niskuna. If they were to only give us, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. These are just questions in my own mind, but if they were only going to give us the land to this west of the bike path, it doesn't include the parking lot. We would obviously want to put a bathroom at the parking lot. So I want to kind of figure out exactly what the parcels are that would be coming to the town of Niskuna, or if they're going to change lot lines in any way, or if adding a bathroom, we may still be adding that onto the town and to the state property. The Lock 7 Park is a separate parcel from the Mohawk River State Park, but you access the Mohawk River State Park through the Lock 7 parcel, right?
Yeah.
'Cause most people park here. You can park on Whitmire Road. There are people who like to start at Whitmire Road. I am not one of them. I really like to park at the Lock 7 Park and start there.
Okay.
I had a quick comment, like bathrooms are fine and, all that's fine, but I feel that the wild nature of the park should remain, like, what I mean is like, right now it's mostly a forest, but so if there are proposals to add new hiking trails or mountain biking trails or change the wild nature of that space, right, then then the CAC should take a closer look.
I think that's fair.
I mean, there are a number of hiking trails that go through there anyways now. Like, when you walk down that, and people bike. Or I've never seen people bike, but I have walked up and through there too. But
I don't think you're supposed to bike on those. You can bike on the ones in Blatnick Park, some of them. I'm not sure though. Oh, they do?
yeah. That's what they call it.
I saw people biking on Lock 7 Road, and when I drove down Lock 7 Road to park where you're talking about, Laura, at the lock, I noticed, especially when you cross the river, that there already is a fair amount of standing water in the woods with algae on it. So I don't know what that would mean for the town. And with the drainage being what it is and the overflows from the lock, I think that there will be, an increasing amount of standing water along Lock 7 Road.
Yeah. We're talking about, we get concerns from residents about that. It may actually be beaver related. But
Oh, yeah, that's,
this
Oh.
area that you're talking about, it flooded recently. It's killing off a fair number of trees. Well,
Trees,
when I say
yeah.
recently, I'm saying probably now like 3 years at least. You could call our town engineer and have a long, interesting conversation with him about that. Pretty sure that he walked through all that water and did find the beaver dam. And there's also some things happening with like the adjacent farm. And while that is it's definitely a change to that area, and it will change the forest. I'm not sure. That's a town engineer question. I think what they even finally decided to do. I personally was like, let the beavers change the land. I don't know. That's good. But I guess if you let them do it too much, they can cause major problems. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not
well-
a great expert, but that is not part of Lock 7 Park.
Oh, the access road at all.
No.
Okay.
That-
And the area around it, so that would stay state-owned, or
Yeah.
it's already town-owned?
It's state owned, but that part is, well, it's partly state and partly town. But do you see that little P? That area that's all flooding is a little bit off the map, but it's all right down here. What the state is talking about
Oh,
sending over to Niskuna is everything that's green, except I don't think they're talking about giving us the Lock 7 Park that's labeled here. I think they're just talking about the Mohawk River State Park on this side.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a time?
But anyway, you guys have already been doing something about it, so.
Well, we've been investigating it.
Those pesky beavers. Yeah, they're good for something.
So a timeline hasn't been, so obviously communication has been reached with New York State on this, and
So I believe what is occurring right now is that New York State passed the land to the entity that would be able to deed it to the town of Niskuna,
okay.
but it can't take another step until seeker is completed. So now the timeline rests on us. I think we would want to take action. My guess would be November, but we may be able to do it in December. I'd have to double check with the town attorney. But I think the project's on hold now until the seeker goes through. So,
Okay.
If there's some serious concerns, I think we need a little bit more data, obviously, before November. But I like to put these things on so that we don't have to handle them in one meeting, so that you guys can get a pre-look, start thinking about what's happening, and then hopefully I'll have a lot better data at the next meeting. But if we had to take action at the next meeting, we'll already be thinking about it.
Thank you.
There's a possibility that we could do it in December, though.
Okay. Does anybody have any other more questions about the Lock 7? Okay, can we move on to our Climate Smart Communities Task Force and our all little things in here? So the first one we'll do is the Climate Smart Communities Task Force goals and updates, and the GHG inventory climate action plan.
Yeah, so I I know we've talked about merging the Conservation Advisory Council and the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, but the only person who probably really knows the Climate Smart Communities Task Force is Chuck. Because we brought him over. He's the last man standing from the Climate Smart Communities Task Force and decided to take on the double work that we're now doing as the CAC and the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. So I'm very thankful for that. But in your packet, I put together the certification framework that we'd be looking at. So what we have been doing as the CAC is we've had these initiatives. We've been working very hard on them. We meet regularly. We have good documentation of our meetings because we're required to by law. And we've been doing these initiatives that count towards climate smart certification, right? The NRI is huge that Ashok has been working on, the composting initiative. I want to even see, the pesticide free and the quiet Niskayuna. They may qualify for points. I gotta dig into the data, but essentially, the town of Niskayuna adopted a climate smart pledge all the way back in 2010. This program builds off of our pledge and it gives you points for different items that you do. And then every item that you do, you submit to the state. And if you get to, I believe it, I put our points in here. If you get to 120, I believe. Yeah, so we need 120 points. Then you get silver certified. No, you get bronze certified. And then even more points, you get silver certified. There's a lot of good things that happen from being climate smart certified. A lot of grants open up. You become a lot more eligible for grants that you get more points when you submit for grants. Like we just submitted for a $1 million climate smart grant, but we're not a climate smart community certified community yet. So that's like a negative. We would have more eligibility for that grant if we had gotten ourselves certified. So we're working really hard to do that. What I printed out in your packet on page 22 is our application that's in progress. So you can see the things that we've already submitted. We have a CSC task force. It was getting difficult to meet. So we've combined them with the CIC. So we will be regularly meeting again. So that one is taken care of. We have a CSC coordinator. We talked about that before. We just moved our chairman into that position. We have a national regional climate program. We did energy code enforcement training for our building inspectors. Our residential organic waste program, that's actually our composting. We've received some points for that. We have a unified solar permit. We have a complete streets policy. We have alternative fuel infrastructure in town hall. That's our free EV charging stations that we have out there. The tree council worked on the local forestry program, and the tree council actually worked on the shade structures policy. That was Carol Carey. The idea behind that is that the days are getting warmer and people need places to have shade. And so the town had to adopt a policy, like hopefully adding shade structures to our parks and places where people can, because it gets so hot, you don't want them to overheat, places where people can have shade. And then just recently we completed the Solarize campaign. That was actually, we got $5,000 for completing that, and we used that to put LED lights in the Avon Crest Park. Rather than the other kinds of lights. So those are the things that we have done so far. And we have a bunch of goals, but like if you go to page 27, that's the framework for all of the actions. And you'll see that you don't have to dig into it too much. Like I know you guys are really busy. I will definitely help. But there's things that you're already doing in here that we can submit. Like I was talking to Richard, Vicky, you should listen. He's very supportive of the Quiet Niskayuna initiative, and he wants to help people transition over to, electric from gas powered. I am sure that we can get points for that. So, and Chuck knows when we were meeting as a task force, like if there is a passion, please just take it on and, we'll help. The one thing that we're going to do together as a group, and we're just waiting on me to get the RFP out, is that we did get a grant to do a greenhouse gas inventory and a climate action plan. So I'm hoping to have that awarded by the end of October. And then we would be able to select a consultant, by the end of December. And then we would be the point of contact for them to come and show us the information. A climate action plan is going to be really helpful. it's a government climate action plan at this point, but it will give us really good guidance on how to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions of the town. And then as the town works with those items, we would want to do a climate action plan for the whole, well, I say the town because that's meaningful to me, but I actually mean the government town of Niskayuna. And then after that, we can do one for the whole town, the whole 24,000 people that live here. And then hopefully start transitioning things on a bigger level to more climate friendly practices.
Okay. So I have just a question. So when they say shade, are they just referring to trees, or are they referring to, other, structures?
It's actually other structures. Like you'll notice sometimes on playgrounds now, the newer ones that they're building, they're even putting those, they kind of have like Swiss cheese holes in them or whatever, but they sort of put them like over quite a bit of the playground because the kids are burning up out there. It's hot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're talking about that. I think they're even talking about like, if you can put solar, we talked about this before. You can put like solar panels up, but raise them high enough that you can like sit under them, like you put the bench under them.
And you can put them on, you can put them on top of, structures too.
Yeah.
Like
And I think,
I can't think of the word. In Miami, what they basically do is they make palm trees, and all the leaves on the palm trees are solar panels. So they do that, but I mean, that's because it is not really conducive. We're not really palm tree people, but here, but you could do something, similar. I was thinking, what are they? Not arboretum, but like when you sit outside and you have, I can't think of the word.
oh yeah, like not a trellis, but like
Anyways, not a gazebo, but they're usually square.
Like a pergola.
Thank you.
pergola.
Pergola. Thank you for saving me. I appreciate it. Anyways, okay. And then,
Yeah, because there's actually places in our park that you don't realize we can't plant trees. Like people love Blatnick Park, but a lot of it is the old landfill, and we're not allowed to plant trees on the landfill cap.
right. And that baseball field could certainly.
It's so hot.
Okay. And then I just have, I didn't understand all of this, but I'll take a closer look. But is there like a list of more, of the things that, we can also do for residential organic waste program to get more points?
Yeah, I think there are. There's
Okay.
like different layers. Like if you do, if you just do a little composting, you get like 2 points. If you do
Okay.
like on-site composting, you get like 6 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I looked at this briefly, but I didn't like dive into it. So
Yeah.
I
And
will.
so if you guys want, because you're already doing your initiatives, like we could probably set up separate meetings, and I can show you how you can go into the Climate Smart Communities program, and you can select the ones that you like, and you can read what needs to be done. And then you can kind of be like, I'm already doing that. Oh, I could just add a little bit, or that's a really heavy lift. Let me find another one.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry. That was funny, but that's wonderful and very interesting. I think it's great that we've joined. I'd like to take a look at it too. I'll take a look also.
Yeah. I think
Cool.
that there might be some wildlife corridor stuff in there that we could get points for. We just got to sit down and look. It's constantly evolving too, and I just got a little depressed because they just released. Well, it's not depressing; it's wonderful actually. 23 new communities, 23 new bronze certified communities. That's great.
Yeah.
I just really want to be on that list.
Okay. So,
How many
Like the
points
medal.
do we need
Right.
at this point?
And the
we
points.
need 120.
Yeah.
So right
Yeah.
now we have. Oops, I did put that in there. Our little. I
Yes.
know there's a lot of pages. Sorry. Right now we have 76 points.
Okay.
And we need 120. We have our mandatory items are done.
Did we get any credit for the previous mini NRI?
I didn't submit it because we were still working on it, but we may be able to just submit the mini on NRI and get points for that. I haven't submitted for NRI. It's possible that we would be able to use that for points.
All All right, do we have any more?
Laura,
Oh, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
have a question. Do you, maybe this is a very long involved question, but not question, but answer. But do we know the status of community aggregate solar? Is that something that's on hold indefinitely, or is that in the pipeline to
Yeah, so
coming to
community
Niskuna?
choice aggregation. Community choice aggregation is something we got really excited about, I think like 4 or 5 years ago. And we actually passed a law that allows for it to happen in the town of Niskuna. And we joined a consortium with Saratoga, Albany, Schenectady, Bethlehem, Kinderhook, and a couple other ones. And we're all set to go. And then COVID happened. And sort of the good thing and the bad thing about the community choice aggregation is that it locks in a rate. Normally, your electric rates, they fluctuate quite a bit. And the cool thing about the CCA is that it locks in a rate, so your bill is basically the same. When your fluctuation rates would have been low, your bill's a little bit higher, but when your electricity rates would have been really high, which I think is in the winter, your bill is going to be low. So if you look over the course of the year, you end up saving quite a bit of money. And the thing that we wanted to do with community choice aggregation is make it 100% renewable. That was the goal that the town of Niskuna wanted to have. So what our goal was to have the town of Niskuna, all the residents be opted into a renewable energy source, but also make sure that it actually costs less. So that's like pretty important. The reason it's called community choice aggregation is because you're using the buying power of the 7,000 homes we have in the town of Niskuna. And that should give you a discount. What happened was right when we were ready to do it, COVID hit, and we weren't able to lock in a rate because the energy rates were so variable and nobody knew it was going to happen. And we wouldn't be able to guarantee that people would save money, and you wouldn't want to roll out an initiative that was going to make everything green and then make people pay more on their energy bill. So we really want both things to happen, and both things can happen. Both things have happened in multiple places in New York. It can be done. The timing was terrible. That is my long explanation. All of the towns, well, most of them, I don't know about all of them, a fair number of the towns are still trying to move forward with the CCA. Submitted letters of interest again, trying to work together with their buying power and trying to get it to move forward again. Some of the companies that we originally used have like fallen apart, so we're trying to work with different companies now. But if we can get the CCA to work, it's like 14 points, and it would put us really, really in a good place. Even if it started up again, though, it would easily take a year in order to get it to really work. So I'm working on it. I believe in it a lot. I don't know if you guys know Jeff Corbin. He's the one that taught me about it, and it's got the ball rolling on the Capital District CCA. But it really has been challenging with the different things that happened in the energy market over the last couple of years. And
I met Jeff recently. He's great. So any way I can help with that, please let me know.
oh yeah, so I forgot that, Vicky, but you talked to one of the guys that works to try and get the CCA to still go.
It's not Jeff, that other guy,
It's the
the older
yeah, it's the
gentleman.
guy. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
his name is.
I met him on the bus going down to New York to the
He's
climate.
from Woodstock, and he tries
Mark.
really hard to keep all the communities together.
Yeah, he told me.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yep.
Jeff switched over to the tree council and is working very hard to save all the trees in the town of Niskuna now.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for that explanation. And yes, any way I can help, I'm happy to, just let me know.
If we are able to get the towns together, the CAC I think will be really critical because it's going to be a lot of public outreach, and I think that you guys are very good at explaining alternative energy and stuff like that to people. So, but we need the communities to come together again and get to the point that they were at before COVID. It's scattered a little bit.
Okay. So that brings us to the Bethlehem Conservation Easement Program. Do we have an update on that?
Well, the update that we have is that I was supposed to deliver a document to CAC for consideration. And, I get a failing grade on that because I have not done my homework and should be punished appropriately. So Chelsea has helped me a great deal. I have all the information I need to put forth a document. The basic idea, and perhaps I would change number 2 to something more general, like coming up with funding sources that the town might have to purchase land when it becomes available. So the Bethlehem CEE program is just one, and Clifton Park has something. And again, Chelsea helped me with that. So I have all the information. It's a matter of putting it down into like a little document for the CAC to consider and then pass it on to the town board. I will have it ready by the November meeting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Look at that, committing to a date.
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear.
Yes.
All right, we'll give, one of us will email you prior to that. Okay, and then, and number 3 is the NRA, the Natural Resource Inventory.
Yes, this one I do have updates, and I think I can be awarded a B+ for this. So first, I'm assuming the town board passed a resolution to formally accept the grants.
They did. Yep.
Okay, all right, that's outstanding. So I have commitments from 2 consultants that they will put in a bid when the town makes an RFP available on their website. I have no idea about how to write an RFP. So Laura, maybe you can help me with that. So I didn't want to mention their names here, but I have confirmations from 2 interested parties that they will submit an RFP. So for the benefit of the new people here, the natural resources inventory, as the name implies, is like an inventory of the town's green spaces. Sometimes historical spaces are also included. So, in a residential community like Niskayuna, one has to be realistic. It's not possible to save every inch of green space, but the town is approaching full build out. So we want to see what is more valuable in terms of conservation. But things like more valuable, less valuable are adjectives. So we do a formal inventory with a trained biologist consultant, ecologist. So we did a previous mini NRI. That's what I was talking to Laura about. And this one was funded by the community foundation, the Niskayuna Community Foundation. So it was a very small $2,000 grant, and we used it to survey just 4 parcels. So now we have a bigger grant, $16,500 from the DEC to survey more land. And then we will make recommendations regarding conservation, wildlife corridors, and all that. A unique feature of the Niskayuna NRI, and the DEC officials spoke highly of this, is that we strongly make every effort to involve the community. So it's not just like a professional surveyor coming in. So we ask senior citizens to participate. We ask high schoolers to participate. We ask anybody who wants to come and participate, and really a matter of public outreach to go and say, hey, this is our green space. Be aware of it. These are all the plants that are growing in there. These are all the animals that live in there. These are all the wildlife connectivity issues. So an inventory of the town's natural spaces. So the new grant has a 2-year time horizon. And like I said, I have guaranteed interest from 2 consultants.
Ashok, I would just like to say that the unique way the town outreaches is because of you. And I very much appreciate that. Like, you work really hard to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table and that there's representation, and that you're not too old or too young to come and talk about how much you love the wildlife and the forest in the town of Niskuna. So
Yeah, and we
goes
like
to
to
you.
we like to be well-rounded, and we invite developers, right?
Anyone,
you
yeah,
know,
they all have a say.
everybody gets a say.
That's very important. That's why it's successful.
Okay. So the next one is the pesticide outreach. So I would just say, I haven't been to the farmer's market in the last couple of weeks, only because my tent broke. So I don't have my own structure to be able to be part of. I used to just come and put up my own tent and then come and talk to people, but it's not working. So I would just say it's probably a slow crawl, although I did go and speak with the Rotary Club of Niskuna, and I did talk to them about, pesticide outreach and what that looks like. And basically all of the programs that we are doing at the CAC, I tried to cover all of them at their last meeting, because they were having an environmental meeting, or climate meeting, I guess I should say. So, so we have, so on our, on the CAC website, we actually have a QR code now. So if anybody is doing outreach and you want to get people to link quickly to it, so your natural resource inventory and stuff like that, you just take that QR code and print it out. I actually have done that, and I laminated it. So people, when they come, they can just scan it, but it brings them right to the place on the town, and then they can pick what program or what they're looking for. So I thought that was really helpful with the composting initiative, because we had the pledge, and we also had the videos of the composting classes that they could watch. So that was important. So let me just see here, the compost while I'm talking, I'll just finish. So the composting initiative, so we met with Kayla and the town supervisor and Ray, and we have a tentative a place which is near the community garden by the town pool in that area. So Kayla had talked to me about, or had sent back an email saying that maybe she could go over and look at it this week. So she may have gone over. I asked her, if she was going over, just let me know, and I would meet her there. But I haven't heard back from her. I emailed her, I think, in the beginning of the week. So maybe I'll reach out to her again. So that's very exciting that we could have a place. So it's basically a place where people who don't want to compost at their home can bring their compost to there, and we're hoping that we can find other sites around the community. And then let me see, the Lomo. So we're getting ready to that corridor that along the path there. So we're getting ready to hopefully Nick will supply us with compost again, and we can put that down. And then I think we have to pick our next set of seeds. So last year we did 4 sites. So we'll see what we can do, if we can do 4 more sites along that path, or what we have. And then I was kind of hoping for different flowers, maybe if anybody has any ideas or whatever, we can order it. We're going to order it, I think, from the same seed company. And then I was kind of hoping that we could do something maybe for like the blue Kerner butterflies, or is that is that possible?
So it's possible. We don't have any carnival butterflies in all of Mexico County right now.
Okay, so they're only in there.
We could plant a lupin.
Or if anybody has a habitat. I just didn't want to plant the same flowers that we planted last year, because I want it to be different.
Yeah, the lupins. The reason that we don't have the wild lupins of the pine barrens that grow here, because our soil is so clay,
Okay.
and they really love the sandy drainage.
Okay.
900 million degrees, like that's their habitat, is the sandy soils in Saratoga and in Albany.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll choose a different one then.
Well, yeah, we could try, but I think our soils would fight us.
Yeah, no, let's do what's natural to our environment. So, okay.
But you know, it'd be cool. I obsess about this. You know how much I obsess about this. Ellen knows. Is that there are lots of plants that are butterfly hosts. So like maybe we could pick a butterfly host plant that we know of, like tiger swallowtails or something, and plant that, and then we could even put that in a sign.
Okay.
We might not be able to support the cardinal blues because they're very specific, but we might be able to find a different butterfly and do their host plants.
Okay, that's perfect. That's
Like-
what I was looking for.
Maybe the monarch butterfly, their range is still within our growing zone,
Yeah,
and they need all the help they can get.
we
I-
have
I-
great soils for milkweed.
That's well, milkweed is one, absolutely. Is it milkweed? And then the other is aster, but I think milkweed is the one. And what's the other one? Cat something? Cat seed? Catnip?
Well,
Cattail? Cat seed. You just said it, catnip. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind.
That's okay.
There's a bunch. It's actually pretty fun if you go into the flowers. Like a lot of them, you don't even know. They're like, they're the host for the cabbage whites or something. Like there's some really cool little butterflies out there that we could probably support. Monarchs too. Everybody's drawn into the monarchs. We
Well,
did
yeah.
we did do some monarch habitat in Platnick Park. But milkweed is a good grower in our clay soil.
Milkweed.
It's pretty easy to get.
Yes.
to grow, so.
And even asters, though, grow too.
Okay.
And echinacea.
I had one quick thing to add on the pesticide issue.
Flowers.
So, SKIAC just, Ellen and I were at a SKIAC meeting long ago, and we talked about this pesticide issue. And then SKIAC, in its last meeting, passed a resolution recommending countywide reductions in broadleaf pesticide use in many county properties, and they are going to take it to the county legislature for possible adoption. This one is not a non-binding resolution, it's a binding resolution.
That would be great.
It has both our names on it.
Okay. So, do they have
That'd be great.
a date that they're bringing it to before the county legislator? I didn't see it on there.
I don't know that, yeah.
Well, we'll ask.
If you can get that date, I don't go to a lot of extra nighttime meetings. I might even go to that one because the county actually, just by its nature, and we're just trying to change the world slowly, puts a lot of pesticides down. So if we could get that resolution, that would be amazing. And they put them down in the town of Niskuna because they have lots of roads here. So
Yep, you should send that to you. You should look at
I would be very supportive of that.
They did, town of Niskayuna, we actually started this ball rolling with me and Ellen, and the process started with us seeing pesticide signs at the public library, right opposite. And as a stopgap measure, they actually agreed to stop using pesticides at the Niskayuna Public Library, like pronto, like it has not happened. They haven't applied pesticides at the Niskayuna Public Library since like April.
That's good. Right on the wetlands.
So I think, so that leaves us with Quiet Niskayuna and the wildlife corridors. Does,
Okay, I can talk about Quiet Niskayuna a bit. So, we continue to do education and outreach. For those of you who are new, we started this group about 2 years ago, just two people, me and John Marr, who's on the Tree Council. And it's to educate people about the harmful effects of the gas-powered leaf blowers and how harmful they are to the environment, to human health, and to hearing, and just livability of people that walk anywhere near them. So we have a website. We continue to increase our membership. In September, the town board passed the non-binding resolution, which encourages alternatives, which is fantastic. Very happy about that. And so in terms of new things, I recently submitted a guest essay to the Schenectady Gazette. It looks like they'll publish it, perhaps even this Sunday, fingers crossed. But it looks like likely it'll be published in the upcoming weeks. I think the next thing, I mean, I would really love to get everybody's input, obviously not right now because we're, we don't have the time for it. But I mean, the goal is I'm going to summarize what some other towns have done, other communities, and to restrict, or some have even outright banned them. But we want to take an incremental approach, but we want to do what's going to be most effective. And there are many, many different ways that we can go with this. And I would really love to get other people's input on what the best way would be to move forward so that we can go beyond the non-binding resolution.
So Vicky, I just want to let you know, so yay for that, the passage of that by the town board. That was excellent, very encouraging that we're moving in the proper direction. And then I just wanted to let you know that I did see, I believe his name is Martin, and he is a landscaper, and he has all electric powered, battery powered excess machinery, his a lawnmower. He doesn't have the largest lawnmower. He seems to be a prohibited barrier by price, the bigger size lawnmowers, but everything else was electric, and he said that they were great.
Yeah. So, and I was thinking there's a couple things that came from the town board passing the resolution. One, it's a formal part of the CAC, so we can put it on the CAC website now, Vicky, so we can link your website to ours and you can add whatever you want. And then another thing is we could do, maybe we could have Martin come and do like a nighttime training. Like we did one on spongy moss. It was very well attended. People wanted to know what was happening to our trees. We did one on growing a great lawn, which was essentially growing a pesticide-free lawn, but we couldn't put it in the title because it was Cornell Cooperative Extension. Very well attended. I'm wondering if it's a formal thing now, and you guys are able to make these contacts with people, is if we could find somebody who could come and do a talk, like even our composting, right? Because we can share that composting video with anyone. Like I send it to my friends who are trying to compost because I, ran into one who was composting without leaves.
Yeah.
So they were just putting the food.
Oh,
So
dear.
you just need to share it with them because
Yeah.
all they have to do is watch that video. They don't even have to come. So it might be really cool to think about maybe doing like a training because the educational component of the Quiet Niskayuna is great. And I know you've been doing the farmers markets, but if we could get somebody to come and say, hey, I do this like for a living and I can do like 90% of it electric. Maybe I could even get the highway guys to come. I just think that's amazing. We should
I think that's a fantastic idea, and invite some landscaping companies to maybe entice them with bagels or something.
Yeah,
Breakfast, or I don't know. Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's fabulous. Thank you so much, Ellen, for reaching,
Oh yeah,
for reaching
no.
out.
So the
about
other
that.
thing is what the company is it Style, STIHL? Is that the one that makes the brand that of electric power?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
Us?
So,
They're chainsaws.
I think it's,
they
it's,
but they make the things. We can. Why don't we
there's
talk?
different ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, let's
yeah, we
talk
can
off.
talk separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
And any other input, I would love to hear. I'm open to many different suggestions about how to move forward.
So Georgia, do you have anything about the wildlife corridors, or have we?
We did kind of address it throughout the entire time, so I think everyone's got the gist.
Okay.
But Laura Ashok and I met later last month and sat down and looked at some conservation areas, and Laura's bringing up the maps now, and the gist of the wildlife corridor is recognizing that there are a lot of animals that are already in the area that are moving, migrating, hunting, living throughout the backyards and the parks, and to start connecting them the best way that we can to enable them to continue to migrate and hunt and move from one wooded area to another. And for example, this is a wildlife bridge. They can be fancy, they cannot be fancy. This is a water runoff tunnel that a lot of animals use to move under roadways, to move under residential areas. And as the climate changes and events become more extreme, you'll get larger animals moving, like the bear in the next slide, in order to find areas that are either not flooded or not populated by people. And, you know, this, in our area, we don't have bears yet, but we have foxes, we have deer, we have cougar. And so as, you know, people come to us with their projects, we want to make sure that we are reserving areas for the animals to continue moving, and perhaps creating new areas for them to make sure that they can cross roads that are put into place. So this is an extreme, which can be quite expensive, but it can support a variety of wildlife. And, you know, I think that here in Niskayuna, we're at a slightly smaller scale. For example, the road that GE is thinking of putting in is 15 feet wide. So we don't need a large structure such as that, but it could be even a drainage ditch next to the road that crosses somewhere along where the cars will be you know, the people will be crossing, to enable the animals to continue to cross. So that's the goal of wildlife corridors, and it's to be integrated with our reviews. And I'm looking forward to getting a nice inventory of what's out there. I have some rings. There are some hen turkeys that were running around in Niskayuna. There are also foxes. Did you get the one on the foxes,
Yeah,
Laura?
this one, they don't load on my computer for some reason, but
Oh,
yeah, I know. Sad.
well, believe me, Laura was so patient with me, you guys. I just had a horrible time. I was saving the photographs down as PDFs, Laura can tell you. But
Oh wait,
yeah.
yeah, I do have this one. I have the Turtle Bridge. One thing, I wanted to
Yes.
tell you, Georgia, was I think the town of Colony, or some town that's very close to us, was the first town in New York State to do salamander bridges somewhere.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, salamanders are very key to the ecosystem. And even along railroad tracks, you can put, you know, little bridges for turtles. So this is something that we could incorporate more readily than a larger wildlife bridge, just to make sure that you know, that there's a path for
Yeah, we
all of the
definitely we
denizens.
definitely could use a turtle corridor along River Road. That is definitely something that should be, could definitely be used
Thank you.
for the
saying
migration
that.
of those, of the turtles. It's really the least we can do besides flashing our lights and, you know, hoping and praying that the next set of cars that are coming down the road are going to stop for the turtle as well. So
And I think we should also look out for deer. You know, they're all along Route 9,
yeah.
and along Route 7, and the foxes are here
Yeah.
as well.
So I
So-
just have a question. Has this is I just don't know this, but has this been brought up to the town board?
No, not yet. When Georgia and I met, we kind of mapped out where we would want to draw the general corridors.
Okay.
So I'm still gonna work on those maps for her, and then I do
Okay.
think we should eventually bring it up to the town board level.
Okay. I think that if there's somebody that this interests them, that they can, you know, that they can reach out to Laura and Georgia about this and be helpful with that, because Laura does a lot. So that being said, does anybody have anything else that they would like to contribute to our October 4th, 2023 meeting?
just really nice to meet everyone, and thanks for having me.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. And
Oh, absolutely, and welcome. For,
so,
yes, welcome.
I guess, I'm
Happy to
looking
have
for-
you.
I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Does anybody want a second?
I will move to adjourn the October 4th meeting.
Great. That being said, adjourn. Oh, I need a second?
Oh,
No.
all in favor?
All in favor?
And any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Any
Aye, in
opposed?
favor.
All right, it's done.
Thanks, Ellen.
Oh.
Yes, Ellen, thanks, and